Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fin Addicts Miami Dolphins podcast on the Fin Addicts Network, hosted by yours truly, the legendary Savak, and I am joined by my co-host, Brian Byrne. How you doing, Brian?
Savak, I'm great. It's awesome to be here on a Saturday afternoon. We have a very special guest. I'm not going to give it away quite yet, but he's one of my top two ever favorite Miami Dolphin wide receivers. So I'll let you introduce him.
Of course, we are joined by a very special guest, Miami Dolphins legendary wide receiver. If you guys remember, we recently did this discussion. We had the top 5 receivers. I had him on there. He is my personal favorite. Number 4 all-time in Dolphin history, receiving yards and touchdowns, Chris Chambers. Chris, how are you doing, man?
Doing fine, man. I thank you for the info, and I appreciate everything you guys have done to support, man. You guys look great. Your background looks awesome with all those jerseys and Miami Dolphin paraphernalia. So it's really cool to be able to speak with people who support and, stay close to the team.
Oh, that's awesome. I got to say, it's kind of surreal, man. I remember playing NFL Street 2 as a kid, and you were straight cheat code, man. It was incredible.
That's cool to hear because I haven't played like Madden, those type of games in so long, like almost since I was in college, like almost like 90 something. So it's funny to see how the kids react and then to see all like the Madden grades. I was able to find my Madden grade. So I had like a 91 or something like that. And I had posted it, and the kids were like, "What? You were a 91? You were in the 90s?" So, it was pretty cool to kind of relive that. And with social media now, we're able to kind of tell our stories a little bit more, and get back to some of the history of the NFL, and especially the Miami Dolphins.
Absolutely, it is a great way to bring up former players and stuff. And Oh man. So if you wouldn't mind running us through, I know we were chatting a little bit about it before we started recording, but if you want to take the time to tell our listeners what you've been up to and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, so soon I was done. I actually left the game with a career-ending injury. I had an arthritic hip. I wasn't able to play. I was with Kansas City at the time, and I was hoping to end with the Dolphins, but that didn't work out. They did have a chance to get me back then for another run. Maybe something to talk about a little later. But after that stint, I jumped right into sports performance. I opened up my own performance training facility called The Chamber for several years. I just literally jumped in head first, no business experience, no nothing. I just really love working with people. I love coaching. I love mentoring. So just to be around the athletes and provide that type of training and mentorship is something that I've been doing, ever since. And, currently now I'm with a company called Barwis Performance Center of South Florida, which is the largest training facility in Florida, almost 60,000 square feet. We work with everybody from paraplegic people who can't walk to guys like Jarvis Landry, who you guys know a lot about, all up under one roof. And, we have a 50-yard turf. We got the most turf in South Florida besides the Dolphins bubble. So it's just a great place to be. It's a place where I'm able to reapply some of the stuff I learned in the industry, and then, continue to be an athlete influencer. And a mentor, and I do some admin stuff. I get a chance to coach, so I get a chance to do a little bit of everything. And I enjoy what I'm doing right now, and hopefully at some point I can elevate myself to possibly becoming a coach or a head coach or an athletic director or a GM. You never know. I have lofty goals, but right now this is what I'm doing, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome. So, Chris, in 2001, the Miami Dolphins selected you in the second round, 52nd overall. Can you tell us a little about what that night was like for you and how that your draft process went for you?
Yeah, it was a great process. I can go back into college when I was starting to have some of the coaches come see me work out. They were watching film and stuff like that. And I would never forget, Marty Schottenheimer, a coach that, well respected in the NFL. I grew up in Cleveland. So, seeing him with the Cleveland Browns, and he actually came to visit me, and we watched 2 games. We watched a game I played versus Iowa, and another one, I think, Purdue. Both games I had over 200 some yards. I had 50 some catches, probably total 400 yards in 2 games, fellas. And I was like, hold on one second. Perfect. Yeah, so back in college, I had Marty Schottenheimer visit me, and we watched 2 games. One game I had 197 yards, another game I had 215, probably 2 of the highest totals I ever had. And when he was watching the film, he kept saying that, I looked like Tim Brown. And he just kept saying, it's like, oh, he's just laughing to himself and all type of stuff. So I'm like, man, you know what? This dude think I'm Tim Brown. I'm going to Washington, number 15 pick. He said he was going to pick, 3 receivers. He was looking at, there were similar traits to me. A guy named Rod Gardner, who y'all may know. I think that's actually the person they picked, Rod Gardner in Washington. They ended up taking a stab on him. So, that's how everything got started. I did my combine. I did my pro day. And at that time, Mel Kiper had me 21 overall, which is outstanding. Knowing going into my draft party, knowing that I may be off the board in the first round was great. But, during that time, we had a lot of receivers coming out. Some of you guys' favorite players, Chad Ochocinco, Rod Gardner himself, you had Santana Moss, you had Reggie Wayne, you had a slew of receivers. I think one of the best receiver drafts, if we started looking back at some of these, Steve Smith, TJ Houshmandzadeh. I can name them all. Some of the guys didn't fare too well. Some of the early guys like David Terrell and, some of the other guys, Corn Robinson. I know them all because they got picked before me. So I got a chance to follow their career a little bit. But, during that time, Dolphins did call me in the first round. And they ended up taking Jamar Fletcher, who was my teammate. So, that kind of started things up. And then I fell into the second round there. And I was on the phone with New Orleans. And New Orleans was going to pick me. They had 1 or 2 picks after the Dolphins. So the Dolphins ended up trading up. They grabbed me, with the 52nd pick. And it was kind of all she wrote from there. And I was just so happy, man. It was a long time. The draft obviously went way longer during that time. So you're talking about hours upon hours, waiting to get picked and then seeing your name up first. But then the feeling just to be picked is just unbelievable, knowing that you have a chance to play in the NFL. Got a chance to jump on the plane next day and head to Miami where I couldn't breathe. Once I got off the plane, and, in Wisconsin so long, it was so humid. It was unbelievable. And then it just kind of went from there, man. And, I appreciate the guys from just picking me up. I think Rick Spielman may have been the GM at the time. Dave Wanstead was the coach at the time. And they had really good relationship with Barry Alvarez. So, they were able to kind of work some things out, and it went well.
You picked a scab there for me. I know he's probably your friend. He was your teammate.
Yes.
But that Jamar Fletcher pick in round 1, it is the only time I've ever done physical damage to anything in reaction to a football. I threw my remote control. I wanted Drew Brees so bad. So you opened that wound.
Oh, man. Well, Jamar was a really great player coming out of college. At that time, though, the team had Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain. So to reach for a cornerback, even though he was he won the Thorpe, it was all good. But it's something that we may not have needed. And, you guys been around. You know how these drafts been going for the Dolphins for years. They'll just miss out on a guy or two. And then I'm starting to hear stories now that I'm older. I get to see some of the coaches who are still in the league. And it's like, dude, don't you know in 2000 or whatever, we had a chance to get Anquan Bolton. Everybody was on board. And we ended up picking a linebacker or something like that. And they could not believe it. And it's like, so we had our chances at Breeze, Anquan Bolton. There's probably a plethora of other guys throughout the years, but they felt the Anquan Bolton pick would have helped me out because it would have brought another elite receiver to the Fins, and you never know from there. So
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I do have one question. Do you think you could still run a 4.3?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I thought about coming back with my hip injury in 2010. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And it just didn't happen. I didn't have the explosiveness no more. Because I've been a possession receiver and do some of those things, but I wasn't the same player. And that's why I had to remove myself from the game. But a funny story is that I met, Coach Flores and, somewhere, not even at the facility, I kind of ran into each other. And the first thing this dude said is like, dude, can you still play? With a straight face. I'm 8 years out the league. I'm like, yo, this is gonna be a great coach. He's looking up under every rock possible to find somebody to play. And so I was flattered by that, but I told Coach, like, no, I'm pretty much done at this point. So
I appreciate the honesty there.
Right.
See, Coach Flo sees the greatness. That's what everybody's arguing with me about on Twitter.
Right.
You should have said no, but I can coach right now. So why don't you join staff?
I'm working on that, and I did have an internship with Gaze a few years ago, but then obviously that whole coaching staff got dismantled, and then so now I'm hoping to kind of get back over there because I do feel like I could add to the team in some kind of way. even if from a recruiting and scouting department or, coming out there helping coach. But, I want to get back to helping the team out and seeing what I can do to improve our status of where we at.
Very cool.
Awesome.
So I do have to ask, of course, what was the hardest or the biggest transition from moving from college football at Wisconsin to playing in the NFL?
Yeah, but in Wisconsin, we were downhill. We were running the ball. We had Ron Dane in the backfield, Michael Bennett. So, the toughness of just blocking and then playing in the Big Ten. I mean, you're prepared for the NFL. You can excel, in some of these conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC. Very physical. Back then we really was toting the ball. The only team that was really throwing the ball spread out was Drew Brees and Purdue. They were the team that used to throw the ball a lot. So we were a ground game. But I tell you what, play action, we were able to take it over the top every single time. So once I got to the league and I made a few plays, I'm like, dude, I'm not saying it's easy, all right, but I was very prepared to go out there and play at a high level. When you go play in Michigan with 100,000 fans or Penn State with 100-some-thousand fans and great teams, so, and then you play in the North where it's absolutely cold as what. So, to be able to go from the North and then play in the South, I just felt like I was prepared for anything the NFL had for me. And then once I got in the end zone, my confidence kind of grew as the years went by.
That wasn't even a brag because your numbers show that. Most rookies struggle their first year. You had 883 yards and 7 touchdowns year one, so that transition couldn't have been too hard for you.
It was, but remember, guys, I had James McKnight, I had DJ Ward, I had Arondé Gasson, who I know you guys probably love, OG. So I had a few guys that was in front of me that kind of carried me a little bit. But then one guy went out. I think Arondé got an injury. And that enabled me to start middle of the season. And that's when I started my first game and actually had my first 2 touchdowns, my first game I ever played. And, I kind of look back from there.
I gotta bring this up, Chris. This is another sore spot for me. In 2002, the Dolphin team was stacked. You had 6 Pro Bowlers on defense, probably what will end up being 2 Hall of Famers on defense. We had 3 All-Pros. Ricky Williams led the NFL in rushing. Unfortunately, the Miami Dolphins didn't make the playoffs that year, which is very weird for a team with all that. In your opinion, what happened there? What went wrong? What held you guys back?
Yeah, so that year, did we finish 9-7?
9-7. Yep, just missed the playoffs.
We just missed the playoffs. Somebody had to win? Did somebody have to win for us to go to the playoffs?
I think you had to beat New England last week of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you're right. We had to beat New England, and the Browns had to beat the Broncos or something like that. So if we'd have beat New England, we'd have won right out. But if the Browns had beat the Broncos, we would have got in as well. The Browns and Broncos, you figure that. I'm from Cleveland, so there's some sore spots with that for sure. But yeah, so in 2002, man, that's awesome defense. I want to say Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator. Chan Gailey was the coordinator. And Norv Turner obviously was coming off of, being one of the greatest offensive coordinators when he was with Dallas. So, part of that plan was to bolster the offense some, obviously, because Dave Wanstead and the defense was pretty much set for the most part. But, once again, we played a lot of games that were very close to the vest. And I believe, I want to say Jay Fiedler. Was Jay Fiedler the quarterback then?
Yeah, and Ray Lucas, I believe, played in 5 games maybe.
He played
4
games? Wow.
4 or 5 games that year.
I didn't know that. I'm wondering how he fared, but I know we always played so close games. And sometimes some of them games that you lose early season kind of bite you. And, we had an opportunity to play New England and win. And I don't know if New England went to the playoffs that year or not. They definitely knocked us off. But, playing against Belichick during that time, I'll never forget it because we were beating them pretty good. And they ended up coming back and winning that game. And, and it was tough, man. I remember the guys when we got off that plane, I was young. So some of the older guys were like, hugging each other and, crying and because they felt like that this is the last time they're going to play with each other. Like guys like Brock Marion, some other guys and stuff like that that had been around that they knew they were going to be dismantled. And I didn't know the business then, so they knew they were going to be dismantled after 2002. So, once again, there were a few years like that we were 1 game or 2 games away from making a serious run at the playoffs. But that team was great, man. It was fun to play with a veteran team like that. That defense was unbelievable. So going against them in practice every day, definitely helped us out on offense, but we never really got going offensively to give us enough to get us over the top for sure.
So a few years after that, then you made the Pro Bowl,
Yep.
posting career highs in yards, receptions, touchdowns. What was different about that season for you?
That season, I'm trying to think who was the quarterback, because we had some
Gus Farrat.
Gus Farrat. Gus Farrat had came in there. There we go. Gus Farrat had gray hair for one thing. So he had a whole head of gray.
So do I.
Yeah, so that was just off top. You already know what that was doing. So and then I think we might have had Scott Linehan as our offensive coordinator, which is a great one of the better offensive coordinators, especially back then when he was with Minnesota. And 2005 was definitely a special year. It kind of all clicked for me. During my career, I was always getting better in every category. But for that year, it was a little bit more stable. Even though we had a couple quarterbacks we had to go through. I just started to make plays. Year 3 for me, I had a pretty good year too. But then we lost another coordinator, which was Norv. We lost Norv, and then 2005. I'm trying to think who was the coordinator. I think it was Scott Linehan. Do you guys remember?
I just know Saban was the head coach. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
with me and Saban, like I was really okay with Saban. Despite what anybody was saying about him, maybe because I was younger, I paid more attention to him and his teaching and like his philosophy and stuff like that. And he said a few things to me because my season actually was a little bit of up and down early in that season. And he told me like, dude, you have to be the best player on the team. You have to play perfect in order for us to win games. And that resonated with me very, very strongly, especially knowing that you have a Jason Taylor and a Zach Thomas and all these different players on your team, and your head coach is telling you that you have to be the best player on the team. So I took that to my heart, and I just started playing better. And I was always streaky, as my career. So if I get going like early, if I make a ridiculous catch, or if I get going, if I score, if they feed me, then I'm gonna do well. But it's always been some games where I didn't get the ball early or wasn't enough of the emphasis, and I played hard and I never really said anything. So I'm a little mad at myself for not speaking up sometimes and be like, yo, just give me the damn ball. Like, yo, I never was that type of person. I was the type of person to let the game come to myself, and then I'll just kind of play or block very hard until I can start making some plays in the passing game. But I was able to kind of put it all together and have my first Pro Bowl experience, and it was outstanding. And Saban was a big part of that.
Very cool. And by the way, you did nail it. Actually, it was in fact Scott Linehan as the OC that year.
Yeah, and OCs make a difference. He's coming playing with Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and he had a deep down the field kind of passing game. Which what I was used to with Norv Turner. I had some good years there, so the offense was very familiar with me. And then we had a running game to go with it.
Before I have to ask the question that I actually have written down and prepared, I got to ask you one off the cuff. 2003. So our next guest that we're going to have on after you, I believe next week, is Ricky Williams.
There we go.
2003, he walked away, as we all famously know. Yeah. Still have so much love for him. But how did that affect you personally, the team? What were your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, that was tough because Ricky Williams was a great player, man. The way he practiced, the way he carried himself was outstanding. He was extremely intelligent. He's intelligent now. He was way ahead of his time. Obviously, we all know that now, and just the way he thought in the process, and he just got caught up in just a stupid situation that now is no situation. So it's tough. But, the way he, every time he practiced, every time he carried the ball, he always went to the end zone. It don't matter if we were at the 10, the 20, the 30, he always scored and jogged back to the huddle. And literally, you play in the game, he would do the same thing. So he was the type of guy who would practice like a champion. He would go out and play like a champion. And to be able to have that, and once again, I played in Wisconsin. So I was used to having a big back and blocking for a guy and, helping him spring, down the field because I knew it was going to help the passing game, especially the play action game that we had. And once again, he's a Hall of Famer. It sucks the way some of the things that went down, but he was able to kind of come back, a couple years after that. And, and he was getting fed the ball, boys. He was getting fed the ball. Yeah. He probably had the most carries in NFL history. I'm telling you, we used to give him that rock, man, and he handled his business. And he was an underrated pass catcher, too. He was able to kind of catch some balls out the backfield. But to be able to play with a guy like that and then eventually Ronnie Brown, we had a nice little 1-2 punch for a second.
And In 2007, Miami Dolphin fans everywhere were heartbroken when you got shipped off to San Diego. What led up to that move? What were your thoughts on that? How'd that go down?
It was very tough because they released me on the day off. I did not see it coming. It was a blindsider. We played Cleveland Browns, I think the week before. I had an okay game. It was kind of up and down. That season, before that season, I had got a DUI. It was back in July. I didn't get it. It ended up getting dropped, but the news had came out. So I didn't know if it was like something like with my character or something like that, because everybody who knows me know the type of person I was. But that was just an unfortunate situation before camp. And then the team, they responded and they respected me and they understood and they supported me, which was great. But I'm just kind of baffled, like what really happened, or who was the one that actually pulled the trigger. I have no idea who thought that was a great idea. But Cam Cameron was the coach during that time. And then maybe I didn't fit his mold. Remember, we had Ted Ginn Jr., who I wanted us to get. I don't know, that might be one of your guys that you might not want to pick up at the time. But he's still in the NFL 14 years later, believe it or not. True. So he did get better as a player, and I really wanted to work with him because I know him since high school and I know his family. And I think we could have been a really good pair. And then we had another guy named Derek Hagan, who they liked a lot. But he didn't really pan out. So I didn't know if they thought the other guys can really step up to my, my status. And they kind of fell short from that, or if they just wanted to reload the team. But I didn't feel like I was a player that you want to give away. I would have stayed on that team for my entire career and just kind of worked out. If I had a not so good season, guess what? I'm gonna come back and have a better season the next year. I've always been that way. I've never went backwards, and I've always improved. So I'm still trying to figure that out too, man. I need some answers. Can we get that? 20 years later.
we'll have to find Cam Cleveland's address. We'll send some hate mail, maybe get some answers. We'll blame him.
Yeah, I think it was Cam. I think it was more Cam Cameron. Remember, he was in San Diego too. So he shipped me off to a team that he was already in. Obviously, North Turner was there. So there's no telling how those conversations went. He shipped off Wes Walker. I mean, his track record was not very good when it comes to like some of the players that, he did have under his tutelage.
No, see, bad enough that they traded you, but to do it on your day off, come on. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel a Friday reference coming in here.
How the hell you gonna get fired on your day off?
I was very upset. I boo-hooed, I cried. I didn't get a chance to say bye to anyone. Because we were off that day, and everyone I walked up to, because some of them people have been in the building for years, as far as the staff and the equipment people. I was a wreck, man, to be honest with you. And then once it was kind of done, I left the facility. I grabbed all my things. I jumped on the plane to San Diego, and it's I was like, man, you know what? I get to play with LT. I get to play with Gate, Phillip Rivers. Like, wow. I was like, you know what? This might be a great thing for my career. Gets me out of Miami a little bit. Miami's fast, man. It's a fast life. To live there and play there is unbelievably hard. People have no idea to be able to have South Beach and some of those distractions. People always coming down. It's very tough to be able to concentrate the entire season. I've seen guys come into the situation and get turned out, man, and be out of there the next second. So I thought it was a good fresh air for myself to go to a new place and a new surrounding with a new team, and they welcomed me with open arms.
Absolutely. So as we mentioned previously, you're fourth in Dolphins history in receiving yards and touchdowns, but out of those, the top 5 receivers in terms of receiving yards, you are the only one that did not get the benefit of playing with Dan Marino.
Yep.
So you actually had 10 different starting quarterbacks, multiple coaches and OCs. So how different do you see the trajectory of your career if you had had more consistency?
Yeah, I do feel like I could have been pretty close to a Hall of Fame career. My numbers was good. I probably would have had extra 20 touchdowns and an extra 2,000-3,000 yards, in my opinion. Because when I did get with me and Jay Fiedler had a good rapport early on, but it was only 2 years. It was very short. And then after that, it was just a round robin of different quarterbacks. Gus Farrar had a hell of an arm, though. He definitely had a hell of an arm. Sage Rosenfels had a great arm. Then you got Feely. Yeah, some of the other guys, and when you don't have that continuity, it really messes things up year in and year out. You got to start over with a new quarterback. You got to start over with a new system. You got to learn a new system. The Norv Turner system itself take 3 years to learn. Like literally take before you really understand all his intricacies of what he wants to get done. So, you know, once I got with Phillip and I had a little bit of like Norv Turner's already system 2 years in there, I mean, I fit in like a puzzle soon I got there. Obviously, you have guys like Gates and them that have more targets. We have Vincent Jackson at the time. But my rapport from year 1 to year 2 with Phillip Rivers was great, man. And, you know, we were making plays all over the field. And I was like, dude, this is how I feel to have a real NFL starting quarterback and this was a young Phillip. Phillip's still in the league. So
Yeah.
young Phillip. And we had developed that rapport. And that's when I felt like actually one of my best years was the year that I got traded because I was able to start with the San Diego Chargers and do very well that entire season.
So that does, of course, raise the question
Yep.
of those 10 quarterbacks that you
Yep.
played with in Miami. How many of them can you name?
Oh man, we already said Ray Lucas. We said Jay Fiedler. We said AJ Feely. We said Sage Rosenfels. We said Gus Barat. We got Dante Culpepper. What number I'm on? Like 6 or 7.
Yep.
Yeah, or I'm losing.
I think you did pretty good.
Oh no, I feel like I should know all of them since I played with them.
But I understand.
Give me my last 3 ones that I'm missing. What am I missing?
You missed Brian Greasy, Joey Harrington, Trent Green, Cleo Lemon, and John Beck.
Whoa. Now me and Cleo probably never game the game together. John Beck, I definitely didn't. I only know if he was in the field. He lasted a couple years after that. But Trent Green was great to play with. You know, he did great in Kansas City. Man, he had a great mind. Brian Greasy, another guy. I mean, both of these guys are on TV now, so you know they have really big, you know, football IQ. But once again, we caught all these dudes at the last part of their career. You know, their last stops. And you know, when you do that, you never know what you're gonna get.
We got to bring it back. You take Drew Brees instead of Jamar Fletcher. You're in the Hall of Fame. Zach Thomas is in the Hall of Fame.
We ain't talking right now.
What's that?
I said we ain't even talking right now.
You had so many Hall of Famers from that team if that would have gone down.
Yeah.
So let's transition over to the current team just to finish off here. Ask you a few questions about what do you think of the current group. What are your thoughts on the current wide receiver group in Miami? Mainly, you know, the main guys right now are Preston Williams, Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on them? Have you gotten a chance to work with either of those guys or any of the other new additions?
Yeah, you know what? A few years ago, I got a chance to work with Parker some, Kenny Stills, Jarvis Landry. I actually train Jarvis Landry now. So we still kept our relationship. You know, great player, great person, man.
Can you bring him back to Miami?
I don't know if he wants to come back. You know, maybe I mean he left. You know, no bridges burned with the fans. You know, I think everybody absolutely loved him. You know, he has a home. He has a home here. So you never know what that's going to be about. But you know, Devontae Parker obviously is the main guy this year. When we were trying to get together, he was a lot younger, so he may not have understood what I wanted to do with him or how I wanted to help him. We ended up getting into a Twitter beef that I had no idea about. You know, somebody's like, "Hey man, what's going on with you with Devontae?" I'm like, "What are y'all talking about?" And then somebody was saying, "Well, he said he don't want no help from you," and I'm like, I was just really trying to help him from a physical standpoint. If he needs help, like need to know some doctors or know some massage therapists or, you know people to kind of help him stay healthy, because that was the problem with him early on. It was really his health. And sometimes you got to try a bunch of people out to see what kind of routine you need to have. So I wanted to bring that type of mentorship to him. But, you know, recently we kind of got back together and kind of talked about that. And, you know, he's a lot older now. I thought he was a just phenomenal football player as far as his radius, his catch radius is awesome. You know, he's starting to get some confidence now. He had a great season last year. I'm glad the Dolphins kind of stuck with him because they could have gave up on him, but they didn't. They stuck with him, man, and now he's flourishing a little bit. You know, as far as the other guys, you know, Preston Williams, you know, he just came on the team. He had a really good beginning of the season. He showed some great flashes in camp. You know, it's kind of hard to, you know, keep up with these guys now because we have no preseason, we have no practice, we have absolutely nothing, know what's going to go on with this crew. You have Jakeem Grant, who got hurt last year that could be an ultimate slot receiver. He has a lot of toughness. He has a lot of speed. He can take the top off of any coverage. So to be able to kind of use those guys, everyone else I don't know exactly about. I feel like we are missing maybe a guy or two. To be honest with you, I did like Kenny Stills. He was a really good player. He was very consistent for the team, but he also had some other things outside of football that he wanted to deal with, and it just didn't fit for the Dolphins culture. So it's unfortunate about that. But there's going to be a lot of weight on Devontae's back, and people know about him now. He's probably going to see some double teams, and everybody else is going to have to step up. Even the other guy who opted out, Wilson, I thought he was going to come back and maybe, provide a spark for the team, but, we're not going to have him this year. So, from a receiver core standpoint, I think, things are a little low. We do have Gesicki, who I think is going to come out of his shell a little bit. We saw some flashes last year. He gained some confidence. So, him and Fitzpatrick got a nice rapport. So it'll be interesting, man. You never know what you're going to get with the team, man. I hope Coach Flores brings out the best in everyone. That's what I'm kind of planning. I think we needed a strong coach like himself, who come from a great background. We worked with Bill Belichick for many years. He's building his own coaching staff and and he really supports the player. You can tell he's a player's coach, all the way, but he ain't taking no shit either. Excuse my language. I can tell he's going to be tough on the guys. He's going to make them accountable. And I think that's just what this team needs, man. And I'm here to hopefully we can get over the hump here. We got to figure out our quarterback situation. Fitzpatrick can kind of get us a couple wins here and there, but he's not going to be the main guy until Tua kind of gets in there and kind of does his thing.
You did answer the next question I believe Savak was going to ask. We'll let him go ahead. You touch on the Tua thing. I guess I'll just go with it. When do you see Tua, or do you see Tua coming in this season?
I do. Based on like some of the reports and some of his development, he seems like he's doing some good things. The team just want to be safe, which I totally understand. Fitzpatrick is the perfect. We talked about this last year. He was the perfect guy to bring in a situation. If you wanted to lose some games, if you wanted to win some games, he totally understood his role. He's understanding his role now. He's probably a good mentor. I've never met this guy, but the team seems like they really like his personality. He's a good mentor. He keeps things light. He's not a real serious guy all the time, so he's like keeps things kind of fun. But when the game come on, he's a true competitor. So I'm hoping that some of that stuff rubs off on Tua, and there's just a really good transition. I just if he's transitioned, that means we might not be winning. So it's really tough to kind of tell which direction. But we know this is like a 2-3 year kind of game plan. And I think if the overall team can just improve on their status from last year, I think everybody as Miami Dolphins fans will be satisfied as long as they go out there and be competitive. And that's one difference when we played guys back then. You knew that we were going to be competitive every single game. You knew it was going to come down to the fourth quarter. You knew we had players that was going to leave everything on the field, and we had leaders, real leaders like JT, Zach. I mean, you can go down the line. These are real leaders. I don't really know if the Dolphins have a real leader or two, like back then when I played that you can kind of go to. So I'm hoping some of these young guys kind of step up, and maybe it's not in, Devontae Parker's, character to be like a rah-rah guy. I wasn't a rah-rah guy. I wasn't the guy who's out front. So, until we identify that person besides the head coach, I think that will help the team out a little bit as well.
Oh, very cool. So before we got to put you on the spot now a little bit, because we have to ask every guest this question. What is your record prediction for the Dolphins in 2020?
I'm going to go 7-9 popped in my head first. Okay? I know y'all don't want to hear that, but that's what just popped in my head.
Seems to be a popular number with a lot of our guests.
It is right around there, and 8-8, and
I'm even. 9-7 would be great. That would be a complete win. Would be able to. It's so fun to be able to know that you got a playoff chance like late in December. It is not fun when you know that 3 or 4 games left and you have no shot of making the playoff. That is hard to play. You got to start thinking about, okay, I need a contract next year. I need to stay. You start thinking about things for next year, and it really doesn't help. You got to find other things that motivate you besides winning games and actually making it to the playoffs. Because playing in the playoffs is just an unbelievable experience. Knowing that you're only a few teams are out there playing at one time, and then if you start advancing yourself, now you're like, man, it's only 4 teams left. All the exposure is on you. to make it happen. And that's when some of the greater players try to come out. So, I hate that I didn't have not one playoff shot except my rookie year, which I set out for an injury. I didn't have a playoff shot with the Miami Dolphins. So that's one thing that I wish I would have ever brought to the team is, be able to make a playoff and a deep playoff push and then, a Super Bowl, but that didn't happen. Maybe I'll get in as a coach. Never know.
You will. Last question, Chris. We had OJ McDuffie on the show not too long ago. Our other co-host is Jason Sarney. He couldn't be there. He's at his kid's soccer practice. He really wanted to send in this question. Who would be the starting five on OJ's basketball court?
There we go. This has always been a question for everybody. You got to pick OJ because this is his house. All right, and he actually got a pretty nice jumper. He got a really nice jumper. He had an NBA three-pointer. This wasn't no college stuff or no high school stuff. We had to really launch that thing if you wanted to make a three-pointer. He was clutch from the corners for sure. So you got to bring OJ on there. You got to bring Jason Taylor because it's just his athleticism, his length. You definitely got to bring myself, just what I do in my basketball background. And this is where it gets like very tough though. All right, like the last two positions because you could go a bunch of different ways with that. There's a couple guys that I didn't play with that used to play. I think Todd Wade was one of them. I never got a chance to see him play, but everybody has him on the list. You got Patrick Surtain, who's a great athlete himself. He could do a lot of great things. I would probably go with that five. I'm really feeling like I'm missing some key guys. Robert Baker was really good. I don't know if I remember him. He played for a couple years with the Dolphins. He didn't start. He didn't play a lot, but he used to come over and play some of the games with us and stuff like that. OG was outstanding on the basketball court. He was fun to play with. Couldn't jump for nothing, but he was able to make some moves. He had one of the largest hands I've ever seen in my entire life. If you guys ever seen that? So it was fun to play with. I probably gave you like 6 people there, and I feel like I'm missing out on some guys. I need a list.
Well, I'll have to hit up OJ today and see what his starting five is, and we'll compare it. Chris, Thank you so much for your time. This was an absolute honor. Fins up. And Savak, you have anything you want to close this out with?
No, just that I got to go dig out my PS2 so I can throw NFL Street 2 in, man.
There we go.
And start dropping these dimes on Chris Chambers again.
There you go. That sounds good, man. Hope that goes well.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, fellas. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for y'all support. You guys had an outstanding show, and anytime you guys want me on, let me know. Maybe we can get together in the middle of the season and see how things go. Once I get a chance to watch and team and evaluate kind of our situation.
That'd be great.
And what an honor. We got the opportunity to talk to legendary wide receiver Chris Chambers. Thanks again, Chris. But, of course, now we got to pay the bills. So, of course, this episode brought to you in part by Manscaped. Go on their website, manscaped.com, and use our promo code FINSUP to save an instant 20% and get free shipping. That's Manscaped. Go in there, get yourself the Lawnmower 3.0. As I've said before, and I will always say again, you can use it to shave whatever. Trim your face, trim below the waist, trim your wife, trim your cat. Doesn't matter. You can trim it all. Lawnmower 3.0, manscaped.com, promo code FINSUP. Brian, you going to get yourself one of those?
Absolutely. I'm waiting for my package to arrive in the mail. So we did the package pun again. But, yeah, I can't wait to check it out. As I've said in the past, I've had some nicks, and nicks you don't want places. So I'm really looking forward to that. That ball deodorant sounds really interesting, too.
And the toner, of course. Manscaped, your balls will thank you.
And we got to talk about, too, what we got going on here at Fin Addicts Network. We have a really cool knockout/survivor pool, however you want to call it. You pick one team a week, one game a week. The winner, it's only a $25 entry fee. The winner's going to get 75% of all entry fees. They also get a Miami Dolphin Hall of Famer Jason Taylor graphed piece of autographed memorabilia. You cannot go wrong. If you want to get in on that, follow us at Fin_Addicts. You can email us at info@FinAddictsNetwork. That you don't want to miss out. It starts week 2, so We got to get it in there soon. We accept Venmo and PayPal for that $25. You can have multiple entries. Don't miss out on that.
I'm pretty sure you just invented a word, by the way. Jason Taylor graft.
There we go. There we go.
That is the hashtag for this episode.
I'll do a Dan Marino. Fuck it, send it in. You flub it, just fuck it, send it in. So, also, make sure you follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/Fin Addicts Network. And I'm gonna put out a giveaway today. I have a Xavier Howard signed football card that we're going to give away. How you're going to be eligible to win that is we want your reaction to tomorrow's game. So after the game, give our hotline a call, 786-309-7558. React. Show us that raw emotion of the win or the loss. Tell us who dominated, who screwed up. We just want your reaction. If you can't get it through a voicemail, send us a video, info@Fin Addicts Network, or just tag us on Twitter at Fin_Addicts. We'll throw that up on the podcast tomorrow that we're going to film at 6:00. But out of all the submissions, we will pick a winner at random and give away that Xavier Howard football card. What an honor today, Savak, interviewing one of my favorite players that's ever done it, Chris Chambers. Thanks for joining us, and as always, fins up.
Fins up.